Hello and welcome to the Startups of London podcast. We have a machine learning startup this week, a very hot topic. I'm sure it will be a fascinating discussion both into AI, ML, and about how to build a successful startup in London. But first, let me introduce you to Neurons Lab and its co-founder, Alexandr Honchar. So Neurons Lab has been founded in 2018, I believe, in the UK. And this is just me reading from their About page in LinkedIn. So they define themselves as a group of scientists, engineers, developers who are passionate to revolutionize the future of business with AI and machine learning technologies. They provide custom AI solutions and products to help companies across different industries to implement AI today. Their research and development facility allows them to solve today's complex problems and customize real-life AI applications for positive future impact. So this is so exciting for me. I personally feel very lucky to have these chances at the chat. So welcome, Alex. I'm very happy to have you here.
Yeah, nice for me being there. Hello, everyone.
Okay, so I'll just jump straight in it without any delay. What is the biggest misconception about ML and AI that you hear today?
Unfortunately, it's so typical, and you heard it, everyone heard it a lot of times, that people expect some magic, people expect intelligence. People forgot that we could launch rockets, we could get to Mars, to the moon without AI. And actually, what we call AI today is basically the same mathematical models we had 50 years ago, just a bit more complicated. So people like to treat AI as intelligence, but we should treat them as mathematical models. I think this is the main thing.
That's, I think, very interesting. And if I might diverge of our chat in the very beginning for kind of like a 30-second segue to another different topic, something I've learned as an entrepreneur and something that's very exciting to me is how to think about human intuition, in which domains of life intuition can be very useful versus where should you not pay attention to your intuition. And the answer comes down to if you have enough data points about a certain experience. Let's say you've been riding a motorcycle for 30 years and you're coming up to a junction and your intuition says, be very careful, you should absolutely pay attention to that. But on the other hand, if you just built your new company and your intuition says to go all in on a different direction, you should not listen to your intuition, you should listen to data. So it always makes me think of ML and AI in that sense, because even as humans, we train ourselves with data points. And at the end of the day, it's not about the core technology, but the validity of the data points. Am I right? I mean, what do you think about this?
Yeah, actually what you're saying also, I think we can refer it to Daniel Kahneman's system 1, system 2, like
exactly.
slow and fast thinking.
Yeah.
And basically how AI is being trained today is more sort of system 1. It looks to us like it's some sort of intuition. We get a lot of data, millions of data points. And when we use those models, they're so fast, they're so automatic. So basically it's like intuitive system 1. And recently it's actually a challenge to turn them into system 2 to make it more like rational thinking. We don't just, it's not enough for us just to understand why we have some prediction, why we have some recommendation from AI system. We also need to understand why it was happening, maybe to have some doubts about it, to have some reasoning behind it. And actually this is the challenge that we have today in the industry.
It's really interesting. The first book I read on the topic was Nick Bostrom's book on intelligence, and he defined narrow intelligence and general intelligence. He called it AGI. Just being good at a specific task is narrow intelligence, being able to switch between tasks. So Deep Blue Computer, which beat Kasparov on chess, if it could stand up and build a startup, then it could be AGI, but it cannot do this. It's very narrow. So where does the work that you do fall in that scope? So I think it could be very interesting to talk about some interesting examples, different clients or projects that you have, and with that, hear about your startup story as well.
Yeah, of course. We work mainly in the two industries. It's industrial IoT and the healthcare. And basically, I'll tell you two stories of the narrow AI there. We work with Singapore company Cordex, and they develop software to analyze data from the ships more detail from the engines, diesel engines on the big ships. And they want to provide the intelligent and actionable insights about the emissions, how to reduce them, how to make the lifetime of those engines longer. And we apply machine learning techniques to analyze the physical processes inside the engine and gives those recommendations. So this is, of course, the narrow AI. It just know how the diesel engines work on the ships. Yeah. But this is really good and actually impactful example of the technology.
Could you mind elaborating on, so what was the benefit for the customer at the end of the day there?
Yeah, sure. Basically, the main benefit was for their customers who install their software is the reducing the cost for the operations and maintenance, because they can see beforehand in advance what may happen to their engines, so they can adapt the policies, stay longer in the port if needed, but actually in the long term save the costs. And second is the reduce the emissions, which is also very important, actually also from the regulation point of view, of course.
Yeah, got it. Thank you.
Yeah, second example is in the healthcare. I don't know if you know about the cosmetics industry. You work with a company called Koja, and they aim to revolutionize cosmetics industry. Basically, they develop a personalized serum for the skincare, so every person using their device can get personalized skin treatment. And the development of such serums for treatment in the lab is actually not so easy, not very easy process. Especially it has to be personalized for each user. And we develop machine learning models that actually help in composing such serums. And also we are building the feedback system. So a person can take a selfie, see how the treatment is progressing. And then on the other side, the right serum will be chosen or even composed from scratch for this person.
That's actually very fascinating. I've seen Y Combinator in your profile. What do you think about the teachings and the philosophy of Y Combinator? What were the biggest things that you learned from there?
What I liked a lot, that they push you, and I mean in a good way, to validate everything you do in the field. So they don't tell you the series, and they tell you not to build your own series. To build a series based on the actual feedback from the market. So all the homeworks we actually had to talk to other members, other students, and pitch our ideas. And basically this way we could sort of build our testing market fit. So I think the main lesson was that go in the field, talk to people, talk to your customers, and iterate quickly. And do not build a startup in your head, build it in real life.
That's one of the most frequent mistakes I would concur as well. And I've made that mistake a few times. Sometimes you get stuck in your head too much and do not talk to your customers enough. And those conversations are actually very insightful, because even if you think you know about the field, always getting the emotion and the need for a solution, I think, is as important as having an analytical understanding of the product, because that actually drives that emotion drives sales more, I would say, than the cold hard logic. People are not always very rational, as we know from System 1 and System 2.
Yeah, you have to use both, definitely. You need to know how to build a system to analyze the numbers, but you also need to know how to get along with people to understand what they need. And sometimes when you talk to a prospective client and then tell you about the problems they have or they think they have, it might be even not the root of the problem. And you need to kind of understand people to get deeper and to understand what's actually happening to be able to help the person.
So what was, would you say, the most insightful mistake that you've made, or someone from your team has made that had huge learning value for you?
Well, we had so many mistakes over such a short period of time. I think I'll try to get because we are a company that builds custom solutions. So we have three main functions. We have a function of delivery, because we need to create such solutions. We have a function of marketing and sales together, revenue function, because we need to get new clients. And we have a function of people, because we need to it's a people business. We need to attract the best people to help them to grow and grow together. I think I'll try to select maybe top one insight from each of the things.
Perfect.
From the revenue point of view, what we realized like maybe half a year ago, and what helped us a lot recently, is to get together marketing and sales as a single function. Actually, that's what if you Google about it, that's what actually it's not a new thing, but for us it was new. And when we aligned the efforts of marketing and sales department, we started to fly, literally to fly, and it was really good.
So what was the difference there between having them separate and versus together?
I think it happens sometimes. I maybe extrapolate now too naively. I'm not sure, but that's what I saw from some conversations. That sometimes it's happened that sales, they're operating separately, and they're doing cold calling. They're trying to do something on their own, and they rely on, let's say, kind of like emotional intelligence, let's say. Mm-hmm. And then there is a marketing department who is being very, very analytical, analyzing the markets, the numbers, and they're not aligned at all. And the worst is when the salespeople coming from the field, and from their emotional intelligence point of view, given the, so to say, insights to the marketing, and actually it can make marketing go in the wrong direction. But when it starts from the marketing, when marketing department gets the numbers, gets some prospective profiles, and helps with those numbers, with those facts, and navigates sales team with giving the facts, marketing materials, articles, etc. Everything's much more smooth, and they all work together for some specific common metrics. And this way they're aligned, and it's much better.
I think this is hugely insightful for any founder or anyone building a team out there. So thank you for sharing that. Yeah, I do appreciate it.
Yeah, you also can listen. There is a podcast of Ben Horowitz. Mm-hmm. It's called Boss Talk. And recently he was interviewing CEO of Databricks. And basically they were talking about the same topic. So if you want to dive a bit deeper, you can listen to that.
That's a good tip. He's the guy who wrote The Hard Thing About Hard Things, the book, right?
Yes, this is the guy. Yeah.
And Andreessen Horowitz, A to Z, so A16Z.
Yeah.
Something. Yeah. Fantastic. So what were the mistakes in the other two domains? I'm curious.
Yeah, in delivery, what we realized, because I'm coming from Ukraine, this was my partner, so we had a really good network of engineers there. And of course, we could assemble the team relatively quickly. And we knew well how to manage the technical results, so how to craft, let's say, AI engine. But we need to learn more how to align it as a product. The mistakes we were making in the beginning, we were really good from the technical point of view, kind of even from the researchy point of view, but we were forgetting about aligning it with the customer's product vision. And something like this. And basically, how do we solve it? We put in the process, basically the delivery process, more frequent communication with the client, and more frequent delivery of the artifacts, like some interactive artifacts, or at least some reports. So the customer could see our results like every week.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt. It's kind of a continuous feedback mechanism. So they you just let them know things are progressing. So they have a it must be a kind of a relief for them. Is that what it is there?
Yeah, because we used to work, because maybe in the research environment, people can wait for the results for months, and it's kind of normal, a monthly report. And we actually had to go to the weekly report, and also kind of like to change the way how we write the code. In a way, it's like the code you write should be kind of it should be something clickable. Yeah. We can't say that we're working for months on some engine and showing some, black screen with some numbers running. We have to show something clickable, some graphs, something visual, so the customer can understand the progress intuitively. And this required to review some methodologies. I can recommend to check out Agile Data Science 2.0 methodology. They have a concept of data value pyramid. And I think this is kind of like the core thing we learned. That was new.
Fascinating.
And the third, from the people perspective, basically, this is something that you can actually also read in the book of Horowitz you mentioned. Mm-hmm. Hard thing about the hard things. When you grow, when the company grows, and when you kind of start to stabilize things in the company, you have some standards, have some processes. Some people might not get along with this, and this is okay, even they're your friends. And I think it was a bit more personal, so we had to learn how to say goodbye even to friends, that because this friends of ours, maybe they will be comfortable in another environment, because maybe the people, they are friends who used to work in calmer companies, not startups, bigger companies, more benefits, more stability. And we had to understand that we shouldn't push those people to work with us. We should find the team that will be okay and grow in our environment, and people who are comfortable in other environment, we shouldn't push them. We should just help them to get a new job where they feel better, and that's it. And it was more like emotional, in a way, emotional growth, being more mature from this point of view.
Alex, this is very honest and very valuable. So, incredible stuff. I think it's very useful for entrepreneurs and founders out there. Just to sum up what you've just said. So, one, merge sales and marketing. Think of them as a single unit towards a unifying purpose, which is actually revenue growth and growth of the business and customer development in a way. The second one, in terms of revenue, you said frequent or customer relations, frequent updates. So let your customer know what you're working on. Don't keep them in the dark. And the third one, people perspective. As you grow, there will be more structure, and some people might not be okay with that, which is by itself not a problem. It's okay. It's different type of people who usually build and grow a business versus who sustain a business. So I agree with that as well.
Yeah.
That's entirely perfectly fine. I think one part of that people dimension, which is something I'm particularly curious about, because it's in my background as well, is how companies, startups build and retain that culture. And I think a huge part of that is how companies handle disagreement. So within your culture of the company, of Neurons Lab, how would you say what the general culture of handling disagreements is like? What is your go-to strategies?
We are, I would say, relatively heavily influenced by some of Ray Dalio opinions on that. Especially Ray Dalio, he's the founder of Bridgewater hedge fund in the United States.
Yeah.
And in his book Principles, he talks a lot about such a thing as radical transparency. And we try to employ it as much as we can. And meaning that we all work remotely. We have people from different countries, different cultures, different time zones. And in order to be aligned, we need to be transparent to each other and give each other honest, both positive and corrective feedback. And I think this is the thing number one that all of us like, more or less, but I can say that more or less, but every one of us likes, is that we all don't hesitate to give feedback to each other and grow. So this is something what in some maybe even bigger companies is not normal. I know that some of the people who we don't work with anymore, they gave us feedback that we feel better in a company where everything is kind of like hidden behind. The problems are not put on the surface, and we do the opposite. If there is a problem, we put it on the surface. And if someone is the cause of it, we give the feedback and we grow together like this. I think this is the one of the key components. Second component is that we really value kind of the personality of everyone, and we don't put unnecessary constraints. So basically, we have people who simultaneously maybe do PhD, maybe do some personal consulting, have some pet projects, and we want people, because we try to find and grow with really kind of unique talent. We work with people who have like PhD in biology, who work as data scientists, and there are not so many of them, and they might have their own interests, right? And we need to respect that, and we work a lot to find the alignment with people's personal life, their own personal wishes and challenges, and the projects we work on together within Neurons Lab. And so far, so good. I can only say that there are not so many people like this. So this is the challenge for us from the recruitment point of view. But we are very happy with the people we work with right now.
This is remarkably eerie for me to hear, because we've just had this discussion within our team at Startups of London. So we are growing as well. Currently, we are a team of 5. And one of the things that we've discussed within the team is Ray Dalio's radical transparency. I'm a fan of the guy in a way. And this is something that is very much in line with our company ethos as well. That and the second one too. I think it's entirely okay for people to have fill some days of their week with different projects, with different things that they work on, which is, I think, absolutely fine by me, as long as it gives us the flexibility and the right type of life design so we can fit these different, perhaps more weirdly shaped blocks of work into our life, because it's not as structured and as clean cut as it used to be in the 70s, 80s. We are a different generation, aren't we? It's quite different for us. And I think that flexibility works really well. And I think in a way that radical transparency, open, honest feedback is a huge part of this. So yeah, I think it's eerily similar to how I think. So, and it makes me absolutely ecstatic to hear about you talking about these, because I think they're a key component, they're a hallmark of a great culture, and it gives me the signal that Neurons Lab is going to be a company that we will keep hearing more about, and it's going to be a company that will sustain its growth into the future. So before we wrap up, my final question is, what are the roles you're hiring for, and where should people find you and reach out to you?
At the moment, we are always looking to collaborate with people who work on the intersection of machine learning and or physics sciences or biology. Basically, because most of the projects we want to find, they're targeted or to help kind of human life, human health, which is mostly related to the medicine, biology, or to help the environment, which is usually related to know some physical processes like in renewable energy or something like this. So if someone who's listening to this podcast is working exactly on this intersection, just text me or someone of us in LinkedIn, and we'll be happy to discuss what we could do together.
It's Neurons-Lab in LinkedIn for anyone out there. Yeah, thank you very much, Alex. It's been wonderful having you. I'm so glad we had this chance to meet and have this chat, because I think this was very valuable for founders out there. There are huge lessons and huge insights, and I wish you the best and your team the best of success in the future.
Thank you. Thank you, Tom. It was great.